Hi, this is PatZi with a Z. Join me now for an interview with two wonderful authors, CARLENE O'CONNOR and Emmeline Duncan, for books that you should not miss. Hi, welcome to Joy on Paper Live, a program for writers and those who dream of writing, and for everyone who wants to know the story behind the book. My name is PatZi with a Z, and I am the creator and host of Joy on Paper Live, and I am so happy to welcome two wonderful guests today, Carlene and Emmeline. Hi.
Hello.
Okay. Well,
Hello.
it's so nice to see you both. I've had you on the radio program, and that was lots of fun. And of course, when I was getting ready to do Joy on Paper Live, I said to my sister, I don't know if I told you, she is a connoisseur of cozy mysteries. And she has been reading cozy mysteries for many, many years. And so she's an expert. And when she says, PatZi, that's a great book. You have to read that book. I'm so lucky to get boxes of books from Kensington Publishing. And Natalie, I open it and she starts sorting them, and I see which ones get right to the front. And the two of you both got right to the front. So, Carlene O'Connor and Emmeline Duncan, you have been Natalie approved. She'll be watching now. And so we're going to start with Carlene. And Carlene, you're going to tell us a little bit about yourself, about your book, this series, because this one is, I believe, is it book 10?
It is book 10. Yes.
Wow.
I know
Wow.
that's hard to believe for me too.
It is so great. Book 10 in this wonderful series. And tell us what inspired it and why you have a special connection to Ireland.
Yes, my great grandmother on my mother's side came over from Ireland in the early 1900s. So it's been a while, but they came over to Philadelphia. And this is my maternal grandmother. So that would have been her mother came over from Ireland. Incidentally, my grandmother was a huge mystery reader. Like, I don't think I ever saw her without an Ellery Queen or Hitchcock magazine in her hand. And herself and her sister Bessie, they just read everything. And they kind of passed that love of reading onto my mom and then onto my sister and I. So before I was a writer, I was a really, really big reader. This series came about because I had been writing some non mysteries for my publisher. And one day my editor just called me up and said, "What do you think about writing a murder mystery series for me set in England?" And I said, "To be honest, John, I don't know a thing about England." I said, "But I could set it in Ireland." At that point, lived in New York City. All my friends were from Ireland, and I would sit in the pubs and listen to them talk and fall in love with their accents and their phrases. I had been to Ireland. I had an Irish boyfriend at the time, and I had been to Ireland with him. So that's kind of how the whole premise and idea came about. And I was a little bit scared to tackle it, but now here we are 10 books later. I have a really nice fan base for the books, and I'm also in love with the characters. So none of us want them to come to an end yet. So this is book 10, and I'm currently working on book 11.
Well, definitely you cannot. They have to keep going because once you start reading this series, it is so much fun. I love Ireland. It is one of my favorite places. I lived for many years in England, but we used to pop over to Ireland, and it's just so much fun to go back there with you. So tell us about your characters and how you develop them.
Yes. So the protagonist is Siobhan O'Sullivan. And with the first book, Murder in an Irish Village, she's really young. She's only about 22. She's really tall, beautiful auburn hair. Everybody calls her a redhead, but she likes it preferred called as auburn because it is a darker shade. She grew up with five other siblings. They were called the O'Sullivan Six. And she's planning to go off to university when her parents are killed in a car crash. So now suddenly her four younger siblings and an older brother who has an alcohol problem. She's kind of the only person who can step up and help run the bistro and take care of her siblings. So that's where it begins. It begins with family. And it's set in a medieval walled town. It's based on a real town, although I fictionalized it so nobody in this real town would be upset with me for killing off all the lovely people. The real town is Kilmallock, County Limerick. And when I visited, it's a medieval walled town. They have a ruined abbey. This is Connemara, the picture on the screen. So it's not the same town. This is over on the east side. But they also had a town castle. They had a ruined Dominican priory that was just stunning, set out in a field where the monks used to brew beer right by the river. I mean, it's just a gorgeous place. And I was jealous, and I kind of joked with my boyfriend at the time, and I said, "You have a town castle? I grew up in Ohio with a White Castle. I'm just feeling like this is not quite fair." So I was thrilled when I was asked to do this series because I knew immediately I wanted this medieval walled town to be the same exact town in my series. And I didn't have to, stretch too far to be able to imagine the town and the people because I had been there and I'd spent time and I'd fallen in love with it, which I think is kind of the secret to any writer's success is if you love what you're writing and you love with your characters, hopefully it's going to shine through to readers. And I believe that's what's happened. And it's been a great thrill.
Well, I think it does. And as I said, it's so much fun. Just thinking about Ireland, it really is a destination holiday for me. It's just a wonderful place to go. I think many people have been actually inspired by reading your books that, yeah, I need to take a trip. I need to see this.
Yes. I mean, look at that castle. This is an abandoned castle in Clifton, Connemara, on the west coast of Ireland. And tourists can just walk up and walk through it like it's not barred, it's not gated. And people respect it, thankfully. I would think if that happened in America, unfortunately, you'd probably see graffiti all over it. But this was a setting for a different, shorter little mystery series set in Ireland. And I took this trip with my father. And we just had the best time walking through this old castle and imagining what it used to be. And I mean, those are the type of touristy things you get to do pretty much all over Ireland. And to me, that rivals anything else you could do on a holiday.
Well, here's your father, right?
Yeah, that's my father. Sadly, he passed away a few years ago, but he was a huge fan of this series and he was very excited to take this trip. He actually paid for the trip, it was his treat. And he got to see Kilmallock and the town that the series was based on. He was always asking me, "Curried chips, are they really any good?" And my mom would call me and ask me clues about the mystery, and dad would call and ask about the food. So we just had the time of our lives, and we went all over Ireland, and he tasted the curry chips and the chowder, and we both went to this castle together because I was doing research for the book and trying to figure out where the body would be, and we just had a great time. And on our way back, walking because we walked, we didn't have a car, but on our way back to our hotel, maybe about a 40-minute walk, we saw a double rainbow. Like it just kind of tapped off the day perfectly.
Oh, that's magical. That's magical. I love when that happens. My father was a sort of a stoic man. He didn't talk a lot. He didn't say a lot. But we lived in northern Michigan, and whenever he saw a rainbow, he would. We have country roads there, and so whenever he saw a rainbow, he'd when we were kids, he'd start chasing it. The roads in northern Michigan, they up and down like little hills. So you go up and down, up and down. And it doesn't matter where we were going. We could be going to our grandparents' farm, but he would turn the other direction. He said, "There's a rainbow. We're going to get it. We're going to get it." He'd go over the little bumps, and we called them belly bumps. And he would chase these rainbows for us.
Oh.
It was magical. So I love that, and especially double rainbows. They're very special to me.
It's funny because the only other time I saw one was when I first heard that, I had an agent, I had my first book being shopped around. And when my agent called to say that Kensington had bought the book, I was living in Seattle at the time. I move everywhere, but I was living in Seattle and I looked up and there was a double rainbow. So that's only twice in my life that I've seen them like that. And I definitely took that as an omen, a good omen.
A very good omen. A very good omen. It's so wonderful when your family are proud of you, and I'm sure he was so proud of you.
Yes, he was. He was.
Well, you have really accomplished a lot. You've done so much. And here you are. I have a picture of you. Well, I put you, what do I have you creator and host under your name, under your
Yes.
picture? Well, yeah, you well, you are. You created and hosted a wonderful um, event here. This was a what was this? A book signing or a
This
different?
was an event that, in fact, Emmeline was there as well. This was an event in Wisconsin, partnered with Bound to Happen Books in Plover, Wisconsin. And we held the event at a brewery, and it was really well attended. And we all sold our books and got to meet readers. It was a lot of fun.
This also included your other series, the County Kerry series, right?
Yes, this is the County Kerry series. This is the first book in the series, No Strangers Here. This is set in Dingle, Ireland. And unlike the cozies, these are darker mysteries, so I don't have any constrictions. Now, for me personally, there's still Irish humor, there's still redemption. It doesn't get so dark that to me, I don't necessarily want, to feel like there's no hope, no light. But they aren't cozy, so I don't want people, kind of surprised by that. It features a veterinarian, and in the first book, she's kind of the prodigal daughter because she's been away for 20 plus years from her home, and she comes back when her father is accused of murder. So it involves animals, it involves rugged, wild Atlantic way, and it involves murder. So kind of all my favorite things.
All your favorite things. And plus, I have another book that you did, and I love this book, and this was one of Natalie's top picks for last year. And this is one that you did together with, well, I call it Three Sweet Writers.
Oh, yes. And first, thank you, Natalie. And also thank you, PatZi. Yes, this actually, Carol Perry, who's on this novella, her person did the graphics. So I want to give shout out credit to her. Yes, this just came out this past fall, Halloween Cupcake Murder. And so every year I do a novella or two as well. This most recent one was Irish Milkshake Murder. So they're always usually themed around a holiday, and my editor chooses three of us to participate. Now, we don't read each other's work and we don't know what each other's writing, but it's kind of fun because we're all given the same theme. And obviously, this theme, kill somebody with a cupcake and it's Halloween and just kind of go. So it can be, I think, a lot of fun for readers to see the same theme handled, by three different writers, and lots of variety and lots of fun there.
Yeah, I agree, and that was a fun book. I love these novellas when you do them. I think what's great about doing those is, the readers get to see the different styles and to discover it because sometimes they'll know one writer and they won't know the other ones, but then they discover new ones that they love.
Yeah.
So yeah, that always happens, and that's lots of fun. And I have to mention Carol J. Perry, of course. I don't know if you realize she was the first in studio guest when I started Joy on Paper in 2015.
Oh, wow.
I had 3 or 4 shows before that. They were all people in New York City. And then she came into the studio, and she was born on Halloween Eve.
Oh,
And
yeah.
now this was in Florida, and it was in April. It was fantastic weather, spring weather. Every day was sunshiny and 72 degrees. And Carol J. Perry came into the studio. Suddenly, storm clouds came over the studio, thunder, lightning, rain. And it was really spooky that I would have her come in to talk about her Witch City mysteries. And by the time she got in, I think maybe she got even soaked because by the time she got into the studio, I mean, it was dark outside, it was black outside. I thought,
Oh, my.
a Witch City mystery author.
That's perfect. That's like the last few days of my trip to Ireland with my father. We ended it near Shannon Airport at the Bunratty Castle. And it was Friday the 13th. And the hotel room I got, and it was still like an old fashioned key, so the number was really big. I got room 13 on Friday the 13th. And there was this gorgeous full moon. So I was so excited, like talking to the, people at the hotel, like, this is perfect. I'm a mystery writer. This is great. And they probably thought I was a little nuts, but I just thought it was perfect.
that was perfect. Well, we're going to go on. I'm going to talk in a minute to Emmeline Duncan. But before I do that, I just want to give you a chance to tell people about your website and also what other social media they can find you on.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is really the best, CARLENEO'CONNOR.net. They can also sign up for a newsletter. I probably only send a newsletter out about once a month, but I am getting better about keeping my website updated. I'm also on Instagram as Writer Girl Chai, CHI, because I used to live in Chicago. And I'm on Facebook. I don't know the exact handle, but Carlene O'Connor Facebook Mysteries. They can find me there as well.
Okay, well, we're going to come back to you in a little while after I get to talk to Emmeline. And
Great.
I know, I love to talk to Emmeline because I love to talk about one of my favorite subjects, coffee. Some coffee. I need coffee. And here is Emmeline and her book. The new book is Death Unfiltered. And I think, if I'm correct, Emmeline, this is book number 4, right?
It is the fourth book in the Ground Rules series, and it just came out yesterday.
Wow. Wow. Well, one of the greatest things about doing Joy on Paper is that I get the books before everybody. I get them months ahead of time. Well, no, actually, I don't get them first because Natalie will take them first. She always sorts them out, and I know anything about coffee. Well, as Finlanders, we drink a lot of coffee, so that's very important to us. So, tell us a little bit about this entire story about Death Unfiltered and about your series because I remember the first one and, and then just we always looking forward to your books.
So the entire Ground Rules series is based in Portland, Oregon, which is where I live. And we have a really big like food cart scene where there's like we call them food cart pods, what are like basically like they have been city lots that are with a lot of food carts, and like there might be like a stage for like music or seating, maybe fire pits and stuff like that. And in book one, the first book, Fresh Free Murder, my main character Sage has opened her first coffee cart with her friend Harley. They have a roastery as well. And so of course in the first book they start out at a food cart pod, and of course there's murder because it's a cozy mystery. In the second book, they've gone on the road, and they're at an eco music festival. The third book, Flat White Fatality, it's set around their roastery, which is also in like Northeast Portland. And then in Death Unfiltered, they've finally met their goal of opening their first brick and mortar shop, even though they still have their main cart in a food cart pod and their events cart. And so they're getting ready to open their first shop. And one thing that's a little bit frustrating to Sage is there is a true crime podcaster that's hanging out because Sage's mother is a very notorious grifter. And this podcaster is basically doing a series on Sage's mom. And she really wants Sage to talk on her podcast, and Sage is not interested. And the podcaster's young, also has a very vibrant social media accounts. And at the grand opening, the podcaster is interviewing one of the other restaurant orders. Her coffee shop is in a micro restaurant development, which is also something we have in Portland. Well, the podcaster is interviewing one of the other restaurant owners. And this restaurant owner and Sage have some conflict. And they're both holding cups of Sage's coffee. And then the restaurant owner collapses. And the podcaster is really excited. This is the first time she's been on like the ground floor, so to speak, of a murder. And she's like,
Oh,
I'm going
great.
to solve
Yeah,
this.
sure. Oh,
And
just
Sage
what
is
I
like,
want.
oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah, I kept one day, Big Ed in the control room. Um, I said to him one day, with all of these murder mystery writers, do you ever wonder what would happen if we had a murder here? And he said, no, don't say that. Don't say that. So tell us more because it's lots of fun when this kind of thing happens.
Um, yeah, well, so supposed to be the grand opening. The restaurant owner, Bianca, collapses. Rose is like, I'm going to solve this. And so Sage also gets involved, of course, in solving the mystery. And partly because of what Rose, the podcaster, she's done with investigating Sage's mom, is some of those people from Sage's like past have actually also shown up, because of Rose. And so she finds connections to some unexpected connections, right, that eventually, some of which helps her, of course, solve the mystery of what happened to Bianca and keep her coffee company from not falling apart. And very hard to keep her coffee cart or coffee company from not being considered the coffee company of death because people keep dying in our vicinity.
We don't want that. We don't want that. So, is this part of your inspiration?
Yeah, this is Ole Latte. For a while, they were about 3/4 of a mile from my house in a food cart pod that no longer exists. And this is Todd, the owner, who started Ole Latte. And then when he first lived by me, I had a black lab who absolutely loved going to visit Todd. Todd will joke if he sees me that he would know I was coming like a block away because he could hear my dog, kind of my black lab like barking in excitement. And my lab would run over and put his paws on the order window. Waylon is a little more polite. He didn't immediately jump to like insisting on a treat, but then he realized Todd had treats and he wanted just kept his eyes on Todd the whole time we were there. And one thing that I really love about Todd's cart, so he was near me and I live in Northeast Portland, but then he moved into downtown and he started a suspended coffee board, which is a program. It started in Naples, Italy. It's now kind of this international kind of movement, and it's where people can pre-buy cups of coffee or food for someone else to claim later. And the idea being that someone who is like down on their luck and could really use something to eat or drink can claim that when needed. And I loved the idea of a suspended coffee, so I worked that into my books where they have a suspended coffee board at their cart, and I love it because if you read like Suspended Coffee's website, they talk about how you don't necessarily know from the outside like who really needs like a meal, or something to drink. Like maybe someone looks really nice and they're in a suit, but they've been job interviewing for weeks and they're down right to their last couple dollars. Or it's like a single parent who is, it's the end of the month, they're a single parent and they are really strapped, they're really tapped out on cash. And so different people might need that pick me up of something to eat or drink. And so that's what I love about suspended coffee. If you're a regular customer somewhere, you can support the cafe you're going to, and you can also help someone that whose day needs to be a little bit brighter.
Oh, that's such a nice idea. I can see from Todd's smile, he's a great guy.
Yeah, Todd's wonderful. His coffee's really good. He roasts his own stuff. And now he's in downtown Portland by Portland State University. And I'm really glad that, he's still doing well because I've always loved his coffee cart. And I'll occasionally take Waylon over downtown and we'll go get a drink. But we can't really walk there. It's a little too far round trip. But
I think that's a nice idea. And I have another picture of you, which I thought was, it just shows your love of writing because you were at an event when you were a little one. I see you in there.
yeah, it was about a year and a half. That's my sister. I'm kind of sitting on her lap. And we were in I at that point in time I lived in Hermiston, Oregon, which is in Eastern Oregon. And this picture was in the Eastern Oregonian newspaper. And yeah.
That's so cute. Isn't it wonderful? I love that you can get these kind of things and put these things up because, you know, there must be a lot of kids now. They're grown ups, and I think it's safe to have their pictures up there, and then maybe somebody will see themselves and contact you because now they can find you on social media because you're a big time writer. It's so wonderful, really, to think about. You also have another series, right? Is it a series or have you written another book, right?
Oh, I have another series. It's actually called, this is the first book. It's the Halloween Bookshop Mystery Series. And the first is Chaos at the Lazy Bones Bookshop.
There I've got it.
Yeah. There you go. One of the big inspirations for this, well, there's a couple towns in Oregon were filming sites for pretty iconic movies. And I thought about using a town like that for a while because I thought of like Goonies, which was filmed in like Astoria, Oregon. And then I ended up with Chaos at Lazy Bones Bookshop. The Halloween Town movie series were filmed in St. Helens, Oregon, which is less than 20 miles away from Portland. It's off of the Columbia River. And to this day, they have this huge Spirit of Halloween Town festival that it runs from the end of September all the way through Halloween. And it's just, like over a month long of just like, Halloween love. And so in my series, it's a fictionalized version of St. Helens, and they've really sort of branded themselves as Halloween year round. And so my character has taken over her family's longstanding bookshop, Lazy Bones. And she's also launched a literary festival as part of the Halloween festival, like one of the early weekends. And she's gotten like a really popular romantasy author to come. She's gotten a children's picture book writer, illustrator, and she's gotten this horror writer who grew up in town and left for college and basically never come back. And this is his first event that he's done in his hometown now that he's like a very well established like 20 years of being a bestseller. And there's also a ghost hunting show that's been filming in town that keeps getting in her way. And she's holding the literary festival, and then one of the writers doesn't show up when they're supposed to talk. And she's really frustrated. And then she goes for a walk a while later with her librarian BFF, and they find a dead body in the corn maze. And that
Well, it's
kicks
it's
off
so
the
much
story.
fun. It's so much fun to spend so much time with people who are always finding dead bodies. So we're going to get
Right.
back with Carlene in a minute, but before we do that, let's talk a little bit about your website.
Mhm. So yeah, EmmelineDuncan.com. I try to keep it up to date with both events and any kind of relevant news. There's also links to my social media handles on my site, but I'm active on Instagram and Facebook as writer Emmeline Duncan, and I'm on TikTok as Duncan Emmeline, and I'm also on Threads, which is like the Facebook version of like Twitter, or and that is also as writer Emmeline Duncan. And I'm still on Twitter as Duncan Emmeline.
Okay, well, that's a lot of places they can find you. And I tell you, as I said, this is book 4 in this series. It's wonderful. Anything about coffee makes me happy. So I'm so happy about your books. And here you are both. First of all, I want to thank Kensington Publishing. They send me these boxes of books, and we get to select. I was telling someone over there, I said, I need a 7-day a week program. Uh, we're trying. And so I was very happy when Natalie selected you two to be my first sort of dual guest here. This is turning into a Kensington hour, I think. So tell us, you mentioned that you were both at the same event. That was fun. What was that about?
Well, it was CozyCon. It's an event that Kensington puts on, and Carlene and I were both at the CozyCon, and we did a library panel the day before, and that was the first time we met, and that was really nice.
And there were how many of us there? There were a number of authors of the event. I think, like,
10 to 12.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun because we don't always get to meet and talk shop, and so I enjoy that part of it as well.
What other events do you attend? Do you attend voucher cons, which are very popular with fans who like to attend voucher cons?
I
I attended last year. I kind of go about every other year, so I won't be in Nashville this year because last year I did quite a few conferences and book tours, so kind of taking a breather this year. But in the fall, I should be doing a book tour with the third in the County Carry series, You Have Gone Too Far. And I'm not sure what the stops are yet, but I'll definitely put them on my website.
Okay, good.
I've gone to Voucher Hunt multiple times. Still not sure if I'm going to go this year, but I will be at Left Coast Crime, which is this year in Seattle in kind of mid-April. And there's also Kensington CozyCon, the Sunday that kind of like right after Left Coast Crime ends. And those are always free to come and meet the authors. If you, of course, if you want a book, you have to buy books, but you can at least come and say hi. So if you're in the Seattle area, definitely, stop by. It's fun. I've been to Malice Domestic multiple times. I'm not going this year. Like Carlene, I do like to do book events. So I will be actually in Yakima, Washington. Oh, and probably the event I'm most excited about is actually the Ashland Mystery Festival. It's this October. It's the second year that it's run. It's like a long weekend that's an immersive experience for readers. I think there are 13 mystery authors there this year. It's fun because there's like pop-ups around town where you can meet authors in different locations. There are some free panels at the library. And then there's some paid events. Like last year, there was like a pro cabaret, murder mystery parties. There were some mystery dinners. The mystery being you had to figure out what the food and like kind of like what the food is and the wine pairing. And that was fun because it was a little, different. I think this year they're going to have like a pajama movie party. And it's just a really fun way. I love it because it's really designed around readers. Like one of the panels with last year, so Tamara Berry and I were on one where people had to try to trail us through town, and we had to like try to ditch them, right? And we had like costumes, and we were at one point dropping like fake money to distract them. And then if they followed us to the end, we actually bought them coffee and hung out at a little open air cafe for half an hour.
That's great.
Sounds
So
like, I love that. Shadow a mystery author. Oh, that would be fun. Okay, I love it. It's clever. So tell me, what's your most interesting fan experience? I know it's always fun. During the pandemic, I think one of the terrible things was that so many authors just couldn't go out there. Normally, it's difficult when you're writing. You're by yourself all the time, and you really need to do that to get out there and see people. And it's nice when you get to talk to them. But what's a fan experience that you particularly remember?
I think a favorite of mine, and I do love hearing from readers, emails. I've received some letters, and even one lovely reader gave me a small thing of earrings that were kind of Irish themed, very sweet. My favorite was actually pretty early on. It was only after my second book was published. And these weren't the mysteries, these were more contemporary fiction, but this particular book had a lot of comedy in it. And I received an email and it said, "I'm 98 years old. My nephew is writing this for me. Um, I don't laugh a lot anymore, but your book made me laugh so hard I scared my cat." And
Oh,
that's the best email I've ever received.
oh, that's wonderful.
I think for me, like I love when I meet readers, and it was fun. Like at the Cozy Con, for example, that Carlene and I were at. People, people did come to see. They probably said hi to everyone. But they did come to see specific authors, and so it is always interesting. It's like, wow, someone really wants to take a photo with me. That's amazing. Probably one of the most heartwarming. My very first book was young adult, and a teen read it for a class, and she had to keep like a journal as she read it, and she actually sent me the content, and it was like every chapter like a review and like what she thinks would happen next and stuff like that, and it was the sweetest thing, and it was really amazing to see what this 14-year-old, her thought process when reading the book.
Oh, that's so cute. In November, 9 of my listeners on the radio program did NaNoWriMo. And so they were eager, and they all finished. They all got to the 50,000 words. Now, after several months in recovering, they're now looking at their books. And only one of them sent me an email after like I think it was December 5th. I finished. I'm ready to publish. I sent a very nice email back. I said, "Well, I'm so proud of you for finishing, but I think there's going to be a little bit of editing needed. Everybody, even the most famous authors, they edit their books before." So, what's your process, Emmeline?
Mm.
When you came out with the first book, um, how many times did you rewrite it, or did it just come out perfect? As because it ended
Oh,
up perfect.
nothing ever comes out perfect. And actually, for Fresh Food Murder, the first in my series, I had actually written like 30,000 words and sent it to my agent, and he didn't like it. And I actually scrapped my initial 30,000 and started over because I decided he was right. And I rewrote it. And I sent it, and he liked that more, but he had issues with one subplot, and I realized he was right. And I took the subplot out, and you couldn't even tell it had ever existed. Um, and so you have to be willing to let things go if it's not working in the book. And sometimes you can't always see that as the writer. So you can be really valuable to find someone that's going to give you good, honest feedback. Um, there's a literary agent, Angie Brown, and she says to never trust the feedback from like your mom or your kids. Like never trust anyone that either feeds you or you feed because they want to save your feelings. So that's why, unless you have like a really brutal mom, that's why it's great to get some really good critique partners, who are going to give it to you straight. And not people that are going to try to tell you how you should have written it or rewrite it for you, but can point out like, this isn't working, or I don't understand what you're doing here, or this confused me, or why did your character do that? It feels out of character for them. And I would also say on book recommendations, there is a book, Self Editing for Fiction Writers, that I think is a really great resource, especially for newer writers. As far as like how to self edit is a huge skill to develop, in addition to how to, take feedback and implement it.
Both of you have so many wonderful characters in your book. What's the process for keeping track of them? Carlene, how do you do that? What do you do to keep track of all of your characters?
It's so funny you say that because just last night, when I had to look up a previous book to refresh my memory about a character, I thought, it stuck in my head that when I started this series, somebody said, "Oh, are you going to keep like a story Bible or character Bible so that, everything's handy?" And I should have done it. I did not. So now if I forget something, I actually do have to go back to previous books. Usually they're saved on my laptop and I can just do the search word and kind of refresh myself with the name or the description if it's a character that does not appear, in every book, and I've lost a little bit of touch with them. But otherwise, they just live in my head 24/7. And especially with the Irish Village and the County Kerry series, I'm absolutely obsessed kind of with most of the main characters. So I really just keep it up here. even if I shouldn't, that's what I do.
Now, your editors, you have different levels of editing. Emmeline, have any editors ever caught anything that you like named somebody, given them the wrong name or the wrong description?
Not a wrong description, but I know from the book 3 in my series, the editor pointed out that there's a major character whose last name is Jones, and I named a bartender who was only in there a little bit, like Jonesy, and they're like, that's kind of confusing. Should maybe not use the same name. And one thing I've had to watch for is, for some reason, I like working the names like Sarah and Emma in as like side characters, and I'm like, I should probably figure out other names so there's not this a Sarah in every book.
What about you, Carlene? Does that happen
Yeah,
to
the
you?
same thing. Like, even if characters' names start with the same letter, like as you're going through it, you're like, oh, Siobhan, my main character is an S, so I'm very careful about having other female characters not having a name that starts with S unless the sounding is so different. But yeah, names can be a funny thing, and when you write so many books, I have reused first names just like in real life. There are multiple people with the same first names, but it's often kind of a internet hunt for new Irish surnames or first names. And to me, if they're main characters, I usually have to feel something with the name, and it has to have some like kind of deeper meaning for me. So they can be a lot of fun, and they can really help you get in touch with your characters too.
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you mentioned that. Spell the name, your main character's name. Spell it with.
Yeah, I know the Irish names are terrible. Not terrible, but people have a tough time with them. Siobhan is spelled Siobhan, but the BH is a V sound, so it's Siobhan. Yeah.
It's a
There's a
beautiful.
glossary in the very first Irish Village book that kind of helps you pronounce the names. And there's a fantastic audiobook narrator, an Irish actress named Carolyn Lennon. So you can also kind of listen to that if you want to get the hang of the names. Or there's some funny skits that Jimmy Fallon did with Saoirse Ronan about the Irish names and how hard they are to pronounce.
It's the same with Scottish words and Welsh. Don't even take. I won't take you to Wales. I had a store in Wales, and so I would go down there, and I mean, I didn't know half of what they said to me, but I would just nod my head and smile. So I guess
Yeah.
I did okay. So, Emily, you mentioned which editor discovered that, because you have like, so there's several levels of editing.
Mhm. It was the copy editor. So I went through my agent didn't blink at it, John S., my editor didn't blink. It was the copy editor at the end who's like, wait a minute. Actually, and like in Fresh Remitter, the first book, I think the copy editor also pointed out I had 2 Saturdays in a row. And again, no one noticed that through the first multiple levels of editing. So some stuff like that, like it's nice having someone at the end who is good on the persnickety details, right? Because I just didn't even think to double check, because it was all living in my head that like, oh, it's 2 Saturdays when really it should be a Sunday.
That's what copy editors are for. That's what I had to explain to the listeners who finished NaNoWriMo. I said, they're different kind of editors. So you have to see where you are. Some of you might need a developmental editor. I named this program Joy on Paper because there is so much joy both for the writer and for the reader. I want all the readers out there to discover your books. I think you have wonderful books, wonderful series. And in this difficult world that we're living, we need books that take us to other places, and both of you do. And I must say, Emily, you take me to coffee. I started drinking coffee when I was sitting on my grandfather's lap, probably, and he put a little bit of coffee in the saucer of his coffee cup, and I would sip at it there. So it's in my bones.
Well, I think probably one of the nicest compliments I've gotten is someone said that reading the books made them crave coffee, and they don't even like coffee.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well,
I love coffee.
yeah, me too.
Same.
Oh, That's what I need. I need a coffee sponsor because I need coffee.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there I go. And food plays an important part in both of your books.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I think
cozy mystery writers love food, and I think we do too. My challenge is that even though I love food, I've never been a big cook myself. So, you know, I didn't realize that kind of one of the prerequisites of being a cozy writer is the readers want recipes in the book. I struggled with that for a while, but now I get the recipes from either Irish chefs that I've met or Irish friends. And I put, you know, in the book, you know, this is not my recipe. This is, I, you know, credit whosever recipe it was, and I get the passion for that. It's a lot of fun. I just honestly, I don't have the skills to do it. Or if I do, I just haven't taken the time. But it is a fun part of the books.
Well, you know,
well, I think
maybe we'll give you a challenge. You can come on Joy on Paper live and you can actually make one of the recipes right in front of us. How about that?
Yeah, I'll have to make Siobhan's brown bread, which I finally did get a recipe for. And people send me pictures of them making it, and I still haven't even made it. So that's a little shameful. But I do love seeing other people's pictures of it. So it obviously the recipe works.
Okay, well, I think we're going to do that challenge and you're going to have to come on. And how about you, Emily? Well, you include food in the stories because when you have a coffee, you need food.
yeah. Well, I was surprised. I didn't realize at first that I would, because I met her kind of late. Was like, oh, you should want some recipes, and I was like, oh, and then I didn't realize people actually made them, and that was a lovely surprise. And my first book was very coffee and like drink oriented, and there was like one food item, and that was the one that every blogger made. And so I'm like, oh, and so I added more food items went along, and I don't have, it's like the third book I have a really great brownie recipe. The fourth that I came up with, the fourth I have like a almond flour like blondie recipe, also one that I'd come up with for taking to events where I needed to have something for people that were gluten free. It's fun. I don't claim to be like a great chef, but I do work things in that like that I've kind of developed over time. And I think it's interesting with cozy readers and the love of recipes, but I think it shows because a lot of cozies are female led, right, and a lot of like female writers, and because our books are about usually about like family and community, and food is such an important part of that. That's how we bond with people, is the act of like eating, and that's a way that some people show love. So I think that's a really key reason why it's our books are so food driven
And
in
in
the entire
Portland,
category.
you have some great bakeries.
Yeah,
So,
it's amazing. Like anything from like vegan donuts that you wouldn't know were vegan, oh, or even like vegan croissants that are phenomenal. Yeah, there's a really great Mexican bakery, for example. They have like the best bread, but different like regions of the world, you'll find bakeries or restaurants. I had never had Guam barbecue until I had it at a food cart, but it's amazing just the diversity of what you can find in
oh
town.
yeah, it's wonderful. Portland is a food lover's paradise.
Food and
So,
books.
and and books too. So I want to thank both of you so much for being on Joy on Paper Live. This has been lots of fun. As I said, I've just started this program, but you're going to be back, and I think I'm going to insist next time you come, you're going to have to bake something and show it to us. Okay? So,
Okay, only if you find a chef and ask him to write a cozy mystery.
oh, okay, okay. You know, I am going to find a chef now that I'm thinking about it. I realize if I find a chef who'll do these cozy mystery recipes, my goodness, and I'll get free samples. So, okay. Well, thank you both for joining me today. It's been so much fun talking to you. I will keep promoting your books, and my sister Natalie sends her love to both of you.
I
And
know.
says, keep writing. She's just waiting now anxiously for the next Carol J. Perry, which we're going to get in advance. We love to get all these books in advance. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks
Okay.
for having us.
Okay. Bye bye now. Bye. Okay, well, it was fun to talk to both of these wonderful cozy mystery authors and Carlene and both Emily's books. They're available online, and Murder at an Irish Chipper. That's a really great book, and Death Unfiltered. Well, it's a coffee book, so you have to get it. And I just got this. My sister finished it, and she gave me this one. And of course, this is now a pre-order because you can pre-order it on Amazon, and it is of course Emmeline's new series, and it is really great. I just started. I got the first chapter done because I couldn't. And Natalie had to finish it first, and she loves it. You can pre-order it. It's Chaos at the Lazy Bones Bookshop, and it's dedicated to all bookshop owners. And so it's really fun. And pre-order it, and when it comes out, you can find out the name of her dog in this book. I love, every cozy mystery author who has a dog. Well, I've seen a lot of different dog names, but I think this one is perhaps, I don't know, it might be the cleverest. I love this one. And by the way, did you notice and behind Emmeline, she had a skull? Now, what's better for a background for a cozy mystery author than a skull? So get this book. It's really fun. Natalie approved it, and Natalie says, get this book. So again, thank both of them for being on Joy on Paper. It's been a joy to talk to them. And I just want to mention, I mentioned Kensington, and I just want to tell everyone, I never charge authors, publicists, or publishers for anything. I don't get any money from them. I want you to know that because that's important. It's important to me that you understand that these are books that I have selected and that I like. As I said, I get tons of books. I don't, I just have to like a book or to read it. And if I get past the first few pages, you got a winner. So, and special thanks to Larissa and Jess. They are at Kensington, and they are so wonderful. They are so always ready there to help me, and I am so happy to work with them. Now, so I'm learning a lot about all of this this YouTube thing. I didn't know anything about it. It's like how I started the radio program. I just started it. I didn't know anyone in publishing. I didn't know any authors. I didn't know anything about radio. And I just got the idea because I heard an interview I didn't like and I wanted to do on my own. And so I started it. And 3 weeks after I got the idea, I was doing it. And I got the idea for this program here on YouTube because, well, really, in part because of AI. It just upset me that people are like really getting worried about where are these books coming from. And I can tell you, they are putting these books out. So that's why I want you to get a chance to actually see the authors. They are real. They're real people. And I hope you can appreciate how much work an author puts into their books. And that's part of the Joy on Paper. And I'm hoping that if you are dreaming of writing, you might start writing. And one of the publishing companies, and that's why I'll recommend it, Kensington Publishing, is a great company. And who knows, you might write a book and get accepted by them. You never know, and you won't know unless you start trying. And really, when you think of it, a page a day, how many pages will you have at the end of the year? Think about that. Okay, a little calculation there. And this is leap year, so if you were doing a page a day, you get an extra page. And then I always like when somebody recommends something, and Emmeline and Waylon recommended this wonderful suspended coffee idea. And so I thought I would just put this here and you can go and check it out. And if you want to do it, if you want to donate, I think that's great. And of course you can do it if your own local coffee shop is part of this group, and you can ask them if they're not to join. And then something interesting happened yesterday. When I started Joy on Paper, the radio program, I didn't know anything about radio. I didn't know anything about sponsorship. I had no idea, no idea at all. And I'm in a similar situation here with YouTube. I just wanted to do it. So I started doing it, and I still don't know what everything I'm doing. So sometimes things will go a little wrong, but I'm trying. And I'm doing everything myself with a little bit of help from somebody very special. But other than that, yesterday my brother mentioned, about he knows more about YouTube than I do. But I discovered something interesting that, when you see a YouTube, if there's a product in it, quite often that product is they're being paid to have that product in their YouTube. And I didn't know that. Just to think of this, I didn't even have the concept that if you see something on YouTube, that it might be a sponsored thing, and I had no idea that actually YouTube and Google pay, all those advertisements before the ones where it says skip in whatever 3 minutes or 3 seconds or whatever. I didn't know that they actually paid. So I'm thinking maybe I'm going to get a few pennies. I hope. I guess they're advertising. But one of the things, it's very funny, actually. I mean, I suppose in the back of my mind, I understood it. Oh, look at Waylon is looking at me. So, yeah, Waylon is saying, oh, yeah, what is wrong with you? You didn't know this. I guess I needed another cup of coffee. And I do need a cup of coffee. And I do need a sponsor, but I don't know who. Well, I'll tell you what my favorite coffee, maybe one day. But I can, and this is so interesting. So I discovered, thanks to my baby brother, who is an absolute doll. My baby brother was so sweet when he was, well, he's still sweet, but when he was my baby brother and he was really a baby, he was the most delightful little kid. Really. Back in a minute. There he is. There he is. And that's my baby brother, Tom. Tom with an H. I don't know when he started that, but anyway, Tom with an H. And so he said I could, you could just advertise. I'm going to advertise things that actually, they're not paying me at all. They're not paying me a penny. They're not paying me a cent. But I wanted to advertise this product because I just like it. And so I'm going to advertise this product. Crisp bread. It's called Thin Crisp, and I love Thin Crisp. And there's my brother looking on like, oh yeah, okay, okay, you talk about it. And so here I'm back, and I can hold up, and I love this Thin Crisp. Over there it is, Thin Crisp. And my sister-in-law is supplying me with this, and this is a wonderful. This is the original Thin Crisp, the round one. They make it in boxes too, but I love this one. There I am behind it. It is round and it's hard and it is I love it. It's fat-free and sugar-free and cholesterol-free. But it's pretty good. And it's Thin Crisp is a Finnish product made in Sweden. I don't know why, but it's imported and it's delicious. And well, it's not so much that it's delicious. It's delicious when you put something on it. It's hard. In northern Michigan, Yoopers call it hardtack because this is what lumberjacks would eat. And the nice thing about it, it's rye, so it's got a lot of, it's just something you chew, and it's good. I think it's great, and I love it with of course cream cheese on it. It's wonderful, a tuna fish salad, whatever. But the nice thing about it, you don't eat a lot of it because it's called hardtack, but it's really great. And it's not a diet food, but it's great, and it's a Finnish product, and that's Thin Crisp, and I love it. So now. Then I can advertise another product too. And so I'm going to hold that one up, which also my brother recommended this one. And he's right. If you are eating a lot of salads, and well, for all of you who are out there, especially if you're on a diet and you're eating a lot of salads, you might want something that's just a little bit sweet on your salad. And this one is fantastic. I love this. And there's Tom smiling at me again. So I'm going to hold it up again. And that's this one. And it is, I like this so much. It's just perfect. You don't want to eat too much of it, but it's just great. It's great on salad. And it's called Hendrickson's Original Sweet Vinegar and Olive Oil. So again, it's great product. And I'm not getting paid to tell you about it. I love it. And they're not giving me any free samples either. Both of them are given. My sister-in-law is the one who provides them for me. So thank you very much, Debbie. And I don't have a picture of you when you were a girl, a little baby. But oh, you're so lucky you're married to my sweet brother Tom, isn't he? Doesn't he have a delightful face? He's a doll. So thank you, Tom, for all this wonderful suggestions you gave me yesterday. And now I'm going to play a very special. It's Ode to Joy. I thought, well, it goes well with the purpose of my program, really, to bring joy into your life, to encourage you, to engage you, and to make sure that you enjoy life. And I want you to also think about giving a book to a child in a hospital, because children in hospitals need books. So please watch this Ode to Joy and find some joy in your life. And if you haven't started writing your book, if you're not an author yet, it's not too late. It's never too late. So you can start now. And thank you so much for joining me today. And I will be putting up another episode very soon, because everybody seems to want to be on Joy on Paper Live. So thank all of you for sending me books. I'm getting more books. Anyway, everybody, just enjoy your life. It's so wonderful to be kind to somebody and do something wonderful today. And while you're at it, subscribe to Joy on Paper Live, because I've got 2,000 radio interviews that I have to put up, which I'm going to put up on, I will be putting those up on my Patreon page, because there are so many of them. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye now.